students. Now we will be discussing with the new topic, that is breathing and exchange of gases. So far we have discussed about unit 1A, that is human digestion and absorption. Now this is second topic, breathing and exchange of gases. The caption of this lesson is your calorie burner and fuel provider or energy provider. Energy provider. So burning of calories liberate energy. That energy used to carry out various metabolic activities by living organisms. Respiration is a catabolic process. It is a catabolic process. Why the respiration is called as catabolic process? So there is anabolic process. Photosynthesis is anabolic process, but respiration is a catabolic process. In anabolism, energy making, the food is prepared or synthesized by the plants. But here, catabolism is a respiratory process. In this, breakdown of food materials, oxidation of food materials takes place. Catabolism is very important process in the production of energy, mostly by using food materials. Food materials. During the oxidation or burning of food materials, water is released. Water is it is nothing but a metabolic water. Metabolic water, it is produced during a metabolism. Catabolism is a kind of metabolism. It is an end product during a catabolic process of food materials. Next, come to fishes. In fishes, gills are the respiratory organs. Gills. So the respiration by gills is named as branchial respiration. Branchial respiration. Branchial respiration is seen in aquatic animals. Aquatic animals like fishes. Gills are the most efficient respiratory organs among all. These are the most efficient respiratory organs among all. The reason is they show counter current mechanism. What is counter current mechanism? Diagrammatically I will explain. It is a gill. Here the opening is internal branchial aperture. Internal branchial aperture, and it is external branchial aperture, outlet. External branchial aperture. You know, the fish always keeps its mouth open. So water continuously enters into the body, into the buccal cavity, oral cavity. From the oral cavity, the water enters into the pharynx. So from the pharynx, the water enters into the gills through internal branchial aperture. The wall of the gill has lamellae, very important structure. Lamellae are the blood capillaries. These are the blood capillaries. So the wall of the gills are richly supplied with the blood capillaries. Lamellae helps in exchange of gases. It helps in exchange of gases. Now, what is meant by counter current flow? In this counter current flow, the water is moving in one direction and the blood is moving in another direction. This is water and this is blood. The water is moving in one direction and the blood is moving in opposite direction, which facilitates efficient exchange of gases between water and blood of lamellae. So because of this counter current flow, The gills are called as efficient respiratory organs among all which are seen in fishes. Now come to birds. Birds have a technique of continuous exchange of gases even during exhalation or expiration. I have told you this in class A's because they have some unique structures like air sacs and parabronchi. So, air sacs and parabronchi are associated with lungs of birds. There are 9 air sacs associated with lungs, and the parabronchi helps in exchange of gases. And the most important point, listen, in the lungs of birds, alveoli are absent. In the place of alveoli, parabronchi are present. These parabronchi play a vital role in exchange of gases. And whereas air sacs supplement the respiration, means they can store more amount of oxygen, so they facilitate continuous oxygenation of the blood even during exhalation. So by developing air sacs and parabronchi, the birds become metabolically more active animals. These are metabolically more active animals because these are aerial animals. They show aerial mode of living. So they need to fly continuously and they need a constant supply of energy. So the metabolically more active animals are the birds. Next come to certain insects and other arthropods, some other arthropods and insects. They can supply atmospheric air directly to each and every cell via tracheal system. Because of a tracheal system, each and every cell virtually breathe air directly and make these land animals are more active. Tracheal system play very important role in the in insects and arthropods, but these are respiratory organs in the land animals and making the land animals very active. And the next point is mountain sickness. Remember students, we are discussing introduction of this lesson, breathing and exchange of gases. Mountain sickness. The mountain sickness nothing but altitude sickness. Altitude sickness or mountain sickness. What is altitude sickness? Then generally some of the people are going up to the mountains. At the top of the mountains, atmospheric pressure decreases. So the partial pressure of oxygen also decreases. In the oxygen deficiency, the people who are ascending to the mountains face or feels mountain sickness. At the height of 6,000 meters height, at the 6,000 meters height, at this height, the partial pressure of the oxygen almost become half of what it is at the sea mean level or mean sea level. It become half. So the partial pressure of oxygen decreases. Then the person feels altitude sickness. What are the symptoms of altitude sickness? Fatigue, tiredness, nausea, vomiting sensation, heart palpitations. These are the symptoms. But after some time, the people gets acclimatized with mountain sickness. Human beings are forced to breathe in because we cannot hold breathing. We are forced to breathe in. But there are some animals like elephant seal. Its scientific name is Myronga. Elephant seal. It is aquatic mammal. Milk giving animal, aquatic mammal. It can survive up to 2 hours without breathing in the water. It can survive 2 hours, up to 2 hours without breathing in the water. What is the reason? The reason is the elephant seal has myoglobin. Myoglobin is a muscle hemoglobin. The myoglobin has more affinity with oxygen. So this myoglobin can store oxygen in the muscle cells and helps the animal to survive under the water up to 2 hours without breathing. And respiration is of two types, inspiration, expiration. Inspiration, expiration is controlled by the medulla oblongata. Inspiration means inhalation, exhalation means expiration. Controlled by the medulla oblongata. At the same time, on the medulla oblongata there is a respiratory center. The respiratory center regulates the mechanism of breathing. And one more center located on the pons varolii, that is pneumotaxic center. This is introduction only. We will discuss all these things once again in the coming portion. Pneumotaxic center. A pneumotaxic center located on the pons varolii. Pons varolii is a part of hindbrain. It just lies above the medulla oblongata. It controls depth of breathing, rate and depth of breathing. And homeostasis of the body also maintained by the respiratory center, which is located on the medulla oblongata. Living cells require a constant supply of energy in order to carry out their metabolic activities. The energy is provided by oxidation of micromolecules. Micromolecules are the end products of digestion like glucose, amino acids and fatty acids. These are the end products of digestion, which are nothing but micromolecules. These micromolecules are transported via circulatory system to the body cells, where these are metabolized or oxidized to liberate energy. At the end of catabolic process, carbon dioxide is generated. The carbon dioxide immediately dissolves in water and forms carbonic acid. This carbonic acid is very dangerous, which lowers the pH of the blood, thereby disturbing homeostasis of the body. So the carbon dioxide has to be sent out immediately from the body. So it is clearly evident that oxygen must be supplied, must be provided continuously to these body cells. So at the same time, carbon dioxide produced by the cells has to be sent out. This process is called as breathing. Breathing also called as respiration as per NCERT. So in the exchange of process, oxygen rich air enters into the lungs and carbon dioxide rich air given out from the lungs. That is called as breathing. It is nothing but respiration as per NCERT. Next, the breathing process. The breathing is simply a physical process. Breathing is simply a physical process, but which do not provide energy. It is just based on principle of simple diffusion. Breathing is nothing but external respiration. External respiration are also called as ventilation. The exchange of gases at the lungs is named as external respiration or ventilation. Why it is called as external respiration? Because the entry of oxygen and the sending out of carbon dioxide happen at the places other than the energy releasing sites. Energy releasing sites are the tissues, but exchange of gases occurs at the lungs. That's why it is named as external respiration or ventilation. Then come to internal respiration. Internal respiration occurs inside the cells. It is also named as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. As the catabolism of micromolecules takes place, takes place inside the cells of every organism, it is named as internal respiration or cellular respiration. And one more thing, The accurate definition of respiration is the processes leading to and including chemical breakdown of food materials for provide energy. So the processes leading to and including chemical breakdown of food materials to release energy for life is called as respiration. Respiration, particularly internal respiration, is a physiological process, but breathing is a physical process. It is the difference between breathing and respiration, internal respiration mostly. Now, types of respiration. Types of respiration. Respiration is of two types. Anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. Anaerobic, aerobic. Anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. Here, incomplete breakdown of food materials. Incomplete breakdown of organic substances takes place. Incomplete breakdown of organic substances takes place. That's why it yields less amount of energy. Less energy. It is of two types, anaerobic respiration. Take fermentation. Fermentation, it is a kind of anaerobic respiration, occurs in the absence of oxygen, which is performed by yeast. Fermentation. And the equation C6H12O6 gives rise to 2CO2 plus 2C2H5OH plus 2 ATP. Only 2 ATPs are generated at the end of process. Only 2 ATPs. 2C2H5OH is ethanol or alcohol. Ethanol. So ethanol is produced by fermentation of glucose by the yeast. It is the equation of fermentation. Ethyl alcohol is produced along with the carbon dioxide also generated. Then come to anaerobic respiration in muscle contraction. During vigorous muscle contraction, when sufficient oxygen is not available, the muscle cells undergoes anaerobic respiration. At the end of anaerobic respiration, lactic acid is produced. Lactic acid 2C3H6O3 plus 2 ATPs. It is lactic acid. Lactic acid is generated during anaerobic respiration of muscle cells. But you can find one thing between fermentation and anaerobic respiration of muscle contraction. In the fermentation, carbon dioxide is generated, but no carbon dioxide is generated during anaerobic respiration of muscle contraction. It is a very important thing. You have to find this. And come to aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen. It occurs in presence of oxygen. Complete breakdown of food materials takes place. Complete breakdown of organic substances takes place, and it yields more energy. It yields more energy. Come to equation C6H12O6. It is a glucose. Glucose. The glucose, by using water and oxygen, because as it is aerobic process, it requires oxygen and water, and converted into 6CO2 plus 12 H2O and 36 ATP. More amount of energy is liberated in aerobic respiration because oxygen is participated. Water acts as raw material, at the same time end product. But at the end of respiration, carbon dioxide is generated. So it is a catabolic process. Respiration is a catabolic process which leads to liberation of energy. Come to respiratory organs. Respiratory organs. The mechanisms of respiration vary among different groups of animals, which is mainly based on habitat. Habitat is a place where an organism lives. And the second thing is levels of organization. Levels of organization. So, the mechanisms of breathing depends on habitat of the organisms and the levels of organization. Habitat may be aquatic or a terrestrial habitat, but the levels of organization, it may be cellular level or a tissue level or organ level or organ system levels of organization. So, based on the habitat and the levels of organization, the mechanisms of breathing among different groups of organisms are varied. Lower invertebrates like protozoans, poriferans, cnidarians, nothing but coelenterate and flatworms. In these lower invertebrates, protozoans belongs to kingdom Protista, but poriferans, cnidarians, flatworms belongs to kingdom Animalia. So these lower invertebrates exchange O2 with CO2. O2 with CO2 occurs by general body surface. General body surface by simple diffusion. Simple diffusion process. Diffusion is a passive transport which takes place from higher level to lower level, higher concentration to lower concentration. By simple diffusion process, exchange of gases takes place over their moist body surface in these animals. And next animal, earthworm. Earthworms uses moist cuticle. Moist cuticle. The moist cuticle is the respiratory organ in earthworm. It is nothing but a cutaneous respiration. Next, insects and some other land arthropods uses tracheal system. The tracheal system supplies oxygen within the body parts. So, in this case, each and every cell virtually breathe air directly from the atmosphere. In limulus, book gills are the respiratory organs. Limulus is a living fossil, belongs to phylum Arthropoda. It is generally called as horseshoe crab. Next, in spider and scorpion. In spider and scorpion, book lungs are the respiratory organs. Book lungs. Book lungs shows aerial mode of respiration and specialized vascular structures. Specialized vascular structures named as gills. Gills are the respiratory organs in aquatic arthropods. Aquatic arthropods and mollusks like snail. Aquatic arthropods. The respiration occurs by the gills is named as branchial respiration, given in NCERT. Branchial respiration. And whereas vascular bags are the specialized respiratory organs which are nothing but lungs. Lungs are the respiratory organs in terrestrial animals. On land, in land animals, lungs are the respiratory organs. These are the vascular structures. These are vascular bags. Vascular means they have rich supply of blood. They have rich supply of blood capillaries. Among vertebrates, vertebrates are the animals with vertebral column. Among vertebrates, fishes and tadpole larva. Tadpole larva of frog respire through gills, means they show branchial respiration. Whereas in amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals, the exchange of gases occurs via lungs. Lungs are the respiratory organs in amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. Amphibians like frog. Frog shows 4 kinds of respiration. Frog shows 4 kinds of respirations. The first one is branchial respiration. Branchial respiration by gills, particularly tadpole larva frog. Lung respiration, that is pulmonary respiration. Pulmonary respiration by lungs. Then cutaneous respiration. Cutaneous respiration by skin. And the last one is buccopharyngeal. Buccopharyngeal respiration. The buccopharyngeal respiration occurs by buccopharyngeal cavity. Branchial respiration seen in gills. Branchial respiration occurs by the gills in tadpole larva frog, and pulmonary respiration, cutaneous respiration, buccopharyngeal respiration occurs in the adult frog on land. Now we are going to learn with the human respiratory system. Human respiratory system. The human respiratory system has various parts like nose, means external nostrils. External nostrils. Then nasal cavity. Nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, it leads into pharynx. Internal nostrils. Internal nostrils. Internal nostrils leads into pharynx. Pharynx into larynx. Larynx into trachea. Trachea into bronchi. Bronchi into bronchioles. Finally, the bronchioles leads into lungs. Yeah, these are the various parts of human respiratory system, starting with the external nostrils, ending with lungs. So it is a pathway of air from external medium into the lungs. In the same way, the carbon dioxide also sent out. Carbon dioxide also sent out. External nostrils. External nostrils. Nostrils also named as nares. A pair of external nostrils. A pair of external nostrils opens out just above the upper lip. If 2 external nostrils are present, that is dirhinous condition. Dirhinous condition. The dirhinous condition is seen from fishes to mammals. And one more thing, monorhinous condition. In monorhinous condition, single nostril is present. Single nostril. Single nostril seen in cyclostomes. Cyclostomes like Petromyzon and Mexina. So, if single nostril is present, that is monorhinous condition. If two nostrils are present, that is dirhinous condition, is seen from fishes to mammals. Fishes, amphibians, reptiles and mammals. External nostrils leads into the nasal cavity through nasal passages. Now come to nasal passages. Second part is nasal passages or nasal cavity. The nasal passages are separated by nasal septum. Nasal septum. So, the nasal passages are separated by the two nasal cavities by nasal septum. The nasal septum is a type of hyaline cartilage. It is made of hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is the very weakest cartilage, but it is most prominent cartilage in the body of vertebrates. Each nasal cavity is divided into three parts. The first one is vestibular part. Second thing is conducting part. And third one is olfactory part. Come to vestibular part. The vestibular part of nasal cavity has hair and sebaceous glands. Hair and sebaceous glands. These hair and sebaceous glands prevents entry of dust particles into the nasal passages. And the second part is a conducting part. The conducting part helps in conditioning. It is the natural air conditioner. Why it is called as natural air conditioner? The reason is it acts as a conditioning. It conditioning the temperature of the air, means which brings temperature of the atmospheric air very close to the body temperature. It brings temperature of the atmospheric air brings very close to the body temperature. That's why it is called as a natural air conditioner. It converts the hot air into cool air into hot air. So, it is called as a conditioner. Conducting part has one important structure. It has three thin twisted bones. These three thin twisted bones are named as conchae or turbinans. The conchae are covered by mucous membrane. They greatly increases surface of the mucosal epithelium of the nose. Particularly conducting part. Thereby, they facilitate conditioning of the temperature of the atmospheric air. And come to last part, olfactory part is made up with nasal epithelium. The nasal epithelium, also known as olfactory epithelium. And the most important point here, the nasal epithelium is named as Schneiderian. Schneiderian membrane. Very important point, everybody remember this. The Schneiderian membrane, not L, N. The Schneiderian membrane is nothing but a nasal epithelium which is located in the nasal mucosa. The Schneiderian membrane has three kinds of cells. basal cells, supporting cells, and neurosensory cells. Basal, supporting, and neurosensory cells located on this Schneiderian membrane, which is nothing but a nasal epithelium, which is a part of olfactory region, olfactory part of the nasal cavity. Now nasopharynx. Nasopharynx. Nasopharynx, it is a part of pharynx. As I told you previously, pharynx is a common passage of both food and air. So external nostrils leads into nasal passages, so nasal passages leads into internal layers. Via internal layers, the nasal passages leads into the nasopharynx. It is a part of pharynx. A part of pharynx. The nasopharynx opens through the glottis of larynx. Glottis of larynx into trachea. Trachea. You know, glottis is the opening of trachea, as I told you previously. So the nasopharynx opens through the glottis of larynx into the trachea. Next part is larynx. Larynx play very important role in production of sound. So this is named as a voice box or sound box. It is the upper part of trachea. Upper part of the trachea. So the air from the nasopharynx leads into the trachea via larynx. Via larynx. Larynx the first time appeared in amphibians. The first time appeared in amphibians. In amphibians, reptiles and mammals, larynx lies above the trachea. Above the trachea. Whereas in birds, larynx is reduced. In the place of larynx, syrinx is present. Syrinx is the voice box in case of birds, which lies below trachea. Below the trachea. So syrinx is the voice box, sound box in case of aves lies below the trachea, but in amphibians, reptiles and mammals, the larynx is a sound box lies above the trachea. Larynx has 9 cartilages. It has 9 cartilages. What are the 9 cartilages? Reason is the larynx is totally made up of with the cartilages. The cartilages supports the larynx. What are the 9 cartilages? Thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage. Cricoid cartilage. And epiglottis. Epiglottis also I will explain diagrammatically larynx very soon. Please wait. Epiglottis and arytenoid cartilage, cuneiform cartilage and carniculate. Carniculate cartilage. Yeah, these are the different types of cartilages present in the larynx. Among these, the first 3 are thyroid, cricoid, epiglottis are unpaired cartilages. These are unpaired cartilages. But the last 3 are paired cartilages. These are paired cartilages. Let us continue with the larynx. This is lateral view of larynx. Come to dorsal view. This is dorsal view. Dorsal view of larynx. Come to the lateral view. This is hyoid bone. This is hyoid bone. Hyoid bone, it is a bone of skull which lies just base of the tongue and it supports the tongue. And this is thyroid membrane. Thyroid membrane, and it is thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage, and it is cricoid cartilage. I am showing you the location of 9 cartilages in the larynx, thyroid cartilage and cricoid cartilage, and here it is a arytenoid cartilage. Arytenoid cartilage, and it is carniculate cartilage, and it is cuneiform cartilage, and this is epiglottis. And come to the thyroid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage is the most prominent cartilage. It is the most prominent cartilage in the larynx. The thyroid cartilage is C-shaped. It is a C-shaped cartilage because it is incomplete dorsally. And the thyroid cartilage is generally referred as Adams of apple. Adams of apple, as it is similar to the apple. As it is looks like an apple, it is called as Adams of apple, which is very prominent in the males. So the thyroid cartilage forms a laryngeal prominence at the ventral side of the neck, and which is very prominent in case of males. So it is generally called as Adams of apple. It is the largest cartilage in the larynx. The largest cartilage and most prominent cartilage in the larynx is the thyroid cartilage. Just below the thyroid cartilage, there is a cricoid cartilage. The cricoid cartilage is signet shape. It is a signet ring-like. It is a signet ring-like cartilage lies just below the thyroid cartilage. Come to the dorsal view, it is the arytenoid cartilage. There are 2 arytenoid cartilages. They are similar. They are roughly pyramidal shaped. They form the lateral wall of the pharynx. So not pharynx, larynx. These are 2 roughly pyramidal shaped cartilages. They form the posterior wall. And come to the dorsal view of larynx. This is arytenoid cartilage. There are two arytenoid cartilages which are roughly pyramidal shaped. They form the posterior wall of the larynx. They form the posterior wall of larynx. Anterior to the arytenoid cartilage, there is a carniculate cartilage. Carniculate cartilage are the two conical nodules. They lie at the anterior part of the arytenoid cartilage. Just above the carniculate cartilage, below the epiglottis, there is one more cartilage. This is called as a cuneiform cartilage. Cuneiform cartilage is paired. Carniculate cartilage is paired. Arytenoid cartilage is paired. But epiglottis is unpaired. Thyroid cartilage is unpaired. And cricoid cartilage also unpaired. Epiglottis is a leaf-like cartilaginous flap. It is a leaf-like elastic cartilaginous flap which is connected to the arytenoid cartilage through cuneiform cartilage. The cuneiform cartilage connects epiglottis with arytenoid cartilage. So, this is the dorsal view of larynx. This is the lateral view of larynx. So, like this, there are 9 cartilages supporting the larynx. What is the largest cartilage in the larynx? Thyroid cartilage, which is C-shaped and most prominent, which is nothing but Adam's of apple, and very prominent in males, but not in females. Epiglottis is a cartilaginous flap which joins, it is leaf-like cartilaginous flap which joins thyroid cartilage with arytenoid cartilage. And there are two yellow elastic cords which are named as vocal cords. Vocal cords or vocal folds. There are two vocal cords between the arytenoid cartilages. Between the arytenoid cartilages, at the same time, there is a space between the arytenoid cartilage and vocal cords. That space is called as remaglottids. Remaglottids. Remaglottids is the space between the two vocal cords and arytenoid cartilage. So, these vocal cords are the yellow elastic fibers, so they are present between the arytenoid cartilage. There are two pairs of vocal cords. Two pairs of vocal cords, false vocal cords and true vocal cords. False vocal cords lies just above the true vocal cords. These are covered by mucous membrane. These are covered by mucous membrane. They do not help in sound production. They do not help in sound production. Whereas true vocal cords, a pair of true vocal cords are made of with yellow elastic fibers. These are made of with yellow elastic fibers. They play a very important role in sound production. They play a very important role in sound production. These true vocal cords are well developed in males. In males, vocal cords are longer and thicker because there is an influence of hormone androgens, testosterone. Because of influence of testosterone hormone in males, the vocal cords become longer and thicker. That's why males can produce a low pitch voice. Low pitch voice. Whereas in females and in children, the vocal cords are very thin and short. Very thin and short. That's why they are able to produce high pitch voice. high pitch voice. So, low pitch voice seen in males, high pitch voice seen in females. Here, the pitch of sound depends on the or determined by the tension on the vocal cords. The pitch of sound is determined by the tension on the vocal cords. If more the tension and more the sound. The pitch of the sound depends on the frequency. When frequency increases, pitch of the sound also increases. At the same time, louderness, it depends on the amplitude. If amplitude increases, sound also increases, louderness. If amplitude increases, so sound increases. If frequency increases, so pitch increases. The next part is trachea. Trachea is of 12 centimeters long. 12 centimeters long. It is a long tube-like structure passing through the neck and extends up to mid-thoracic cavity. Extends up to mid-thoracic cavity. I will show you the structure of trachea with the help of diagram very soon. Trachea is lined by C-shaped cartilaginous rings. C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Here, what kind of cartilage seen in the wall of the trachea? It is a type of hyaline cartilage. Type of hyaline cartilage. C-shaped cartilaginous rings means, these rings are incomplete dorsally. Incomplete dorsally. And one more important point is, the wall of the trachea is lined by pseudo-stratified epithelium. Pseudo-stratified epithelium is a simple epithelium, but it looks like compound stratified epithelium. In this pseudo-stratified epithelium, pseudo-stratified ciliated epithelium it is. Pseudo-stratified ciliated epithelium. In this pseudo-stratified ciliated epithelium, columnar cells are present. Columnar cells. The cilia present in the pseudo-stratified epithelium play a very important role. What is the role? They beat to push out the mucus. They beat push out the mucus from the nasal passages. Next, the trachea is commonly called as windpipe or air pipe. It extends up to mid-thoracic cavity. The trachea extends up to mid-thoracic cavity and then it divides into bronchi. Divides into bronchi at the level of a fifth thoracic vertebrae. At the level of fifth thoracic vertebrae. So the trachea is divided into bronchi, right and left bronchi. Right and left bronchi. Now come to bronchi. Then the bronchi divides into primary bronchi. Primary bronchi, secondary bronchi and tertiary bronchi. Then the tertiary bronchi divides and redivides and forms the primary bronchiole. Primary bronchiole, secondary bronchiole, tertiary bronchiole, terminal bronchiole, and finally respiratory bronchiole. Respiratory bronchiole. So, on entering into the mid-thoracic cavity, at the level of the fifth thoracic vertebrae, the trachea divided into two bronchi. Each bronchi enters into their respective lungs. Right bronchi enters into right lung and the left bronchi enters into left lung. Then the bronchi divides into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi and tertiary bronchi. The tertiary bronchi divides and redivides into primary bronchiole, secondary bronchiole, tertiary bronchiole, terminal bronchiole, finally respiratory bronchiole. All the bronchi end initial bronchioles. Initial bronchioles. Initial bronchioles means till tertiary bronchiole. Till tertiary bronchiole, C-shaped cartilaginous rings are present. C-shaped cartilaginous rings are present, which means on the wall of all the bronchi till tertiary bronchiole, the wall is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous rings, but the C-shaped cartilaginous rings are incomplete dorsally and these are absent in the terminal and respiratory bronchioles. In the terminal and respiratory bronchioles. Now, all the bronchioles and alveolar ducts comprises the pulmonary tree. Pulmonary tree. The pulmonary tree is nothing but upside down tree. Upside down tree. So, bronchioles leads into alveolar ducts. Alveolar ducts ends with alveolar sacs. So, bronchioles and alveolar ducts comprises the pulmonary tree or upside down tree. Okay students, today we have discussed up to pulmonary tree. Please watch the video and write the running notes, and you should maintain a very neat handwriting in the running notes. But some people are writing on papers, that is not good. It is better to write in a running notes, in a permanent running notes. Thank you.